That elevator dinged, and so did I. It was a Friday night, nearly 10 p.m. I had just left a brutally long investor pitch on the 34th floor of Hudson Pinnacle Tower, one of those absurdly tall, overly polished buildings in Midtown Manhattan. My tie was loosened, my patience was spent, and all I wanted was a quiet ride up to my penthouse and a glass of overpriced whiskey. Before I give you the complete juicy details, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment if your building's security has ever been a little too secure. But when the doors slid open on the ground floor, instead of finding an empty ride, there he was. Towering, broad-shouldered, dark eyes that didn't just look at you, they scanned you. A jawline that could file paperwork, and a uniform that was definitely a size too small on purpose. His name tag read Damon. "Evening," he said, stepping in beside me. His voice was deep, almost too casual. I nodded, pressing the button for the 51st floor. "Hey!" He didn't press a floor. Just stood there, hands behind his back, facing forward like he was guarding something. I tried not to stare. I failed. He caught me in the reflection of the elevator walls. "You always come home this late?" "Just Mondays, and when I'm trying to prove to myself I'm not a complete failure." He smiled, and that stupid half-dimple on the right cheek made me forget what gravity felt like. "Seems like you're doing all right. Penthouse and all." I was about to deflect with a joke, but then the elevator jerked. It stopped. Lights flickered. Then silence. I stared at the floor numbers. We were stuck between 37 and 38. "You've got to be kidding me," I muttered, pressing the emergency button. Damon was already on his walkie, speaking in firm, calm tones. "Control, we've got a stuck elevator between 37 and 38. 2 passengers. 2 passengers," I repeated under my breath, glancing at him. He looked over. "You good? I mean, I've had better nights. But if I'm going to be stuck, I guess it could be worse." "Oh yeah?" he asked, stepping a little closer. I shrugged, the air already getting hotter than it had any business being. "You could have been someone boring. Or rude. Or wearing Axe body spray." He chuckled. "Noted." There was a beat. A very loaded silence. I noticed how close we were. Not touching, but definitely not respecting any kind of personal bubble. Something shimmered in the air between us. Not fear. Not panic. Tension. Sexual. Charged. Dangerous. I should have looked away. But I didn't. Instead, I said, "You always patrol elevators?" He tilted his head. "Only the ones with interesting passengers." I swallowed hard. The elevator suddenly felt smaller. My skin felt warmer. There was a loud crackle from the intercom. "We're working on it. Could take a while." Damon leaned back against the elevator wall, arms crossed. "Guess we've got time." I laughed nervously. "Time for what?" He looked me right in the eyes. And damn, he didn't blink. "To get to know each other." The thing about being stuck in an elevator with a man like Damon is, you suddenly become hyper-aware of everything. The buzz of the fluorescent lights. The distant hum of the city. The way he stood like the elevator was his territory, and I was a guest in it. "You okay?" he asked again, softer this time. I nodded, even though I was anything but okay. It wasn't claustrophobia. It was him. Every move he made was measured, controlled, and somehow intimate. He wasn't even trying to be sexy, but the way he shifted his weight from one leg to the other, the slow drag of his fingers over his jaw. "God help me. What's your name, penthouse?" "Eli," I said, my voice cracking slightly. "Eli Taylor." He gave a short nod. "I'm Damon Knight." "Yeah, I know. It sounds like a fake name. Like I should be in a Marvel movie or something." That made me laugh. "A real one." "Damon Knight," I said, trying it out. "Security detail or part-time superhero?" He smirked. "Depends who's asking." Oh, we were flirting. That was official now. Minutes passed. The air in the elevator grew warmer. Damon peeled off his jacket, revealing a tight black tee that left little to the imagination. His arms were sculpted, veins trailing over his forearms like vines. Tattoos peeked out from under the sleeves, some script I couldn't quite read. I tried not to stare. Again, failed. "You work in finance, right?" he asked. "Guilty." Explains the expensive shoes and the tired eyes. I laughed again, but quieter this time. "What about you?" "Always wanted to be a security guard." He shrugged. It's stable. Pays the bills. Better than what I did before. Which was? He hesitated. Army. That made me straighten a bit. Damn. Thank you for your service. He looked at me with something unreadable in his expression. Don't thank me. Just know I don't spook easy. What does that mean? It means if this elevator stays stuck another hour and we start confessing secrets, I'm not going to freak out. My heart kicked. Who said anything about secrets? He stepped closer. Not touching. Still a few inches away, but that distance felt like a whisper. You've been looking at me since I got in here, he said, not accusing, just knowing. I didn't deny it. Maybe. He leaned in, eyes locked on mine. Say it. My mouth was dry. Say what? That you want me to kiss you. Jesus. I almost laughed, except I didn't. I couldn't. Because I did want him to. So badly it ached. I want. Ding. The elevator lurched. The lights flashed. Then, with a shaky jolt, it started to move again. He took one step back, breaking the spell. Guess we're saved, he said, adjusting his shirt and reaching for his jacket. But I saw it. His chest was rising just a little faster than before. His fingers shook barely. Yeah, I murmured, trying to catch my breath. Saved. But I wasn't. Not even close. The elevator doors slid open on the 51st floor like nothing had happened. Like the universe hadn't just played the dirtiest trick imaginable. Damon stepped out first, calm and collected, like he hadn't just asked me to beg for a kiss seconds before we were rescued. I followed him out, heart racing. Guess I'll see you around, I said awkwardly, pausing at my door. He turned to me, one hand in his pocket, the other gripping his jacket over his shoulder. You will. I fumbled for my keycard, hands still shaking. As I turned the lock, I heard him behind me. Eli. I glanced over my shoulder. He stepped closer again, like he didn't quite get enough of the tension back in that elevator. I get off at midnight, he said. My brain short-circuited. You mean? He reached into his pocket and slid a spare building keycard between my fingers, his thumb grazing mine a second longer than necessary. Come down to the service floor. I'll be in room 3C. And just like that, he walked away. No wink. No smirk. Just that quiet, confident power that told me he knew I'd show up. I stood in front of my apartment door for what felt like forever, staring at that card. Every nerve in my body screamed, go. But my brain, it was running a mile a minute. I'd never done this before. Not with someone like him. Not in the same building I lived in, where every decision could backfire spectacularly. Still, an hour later, after half a glass of whiskey and changing shirts 3 times, I found myself descending in the elevator again. The same one. Now I was the one pressing the button to the service floor, heart pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. When the doors opened, it was darker. Less polished. Quieter. I walked slowly, each footstep echoing in the hallway until I found 3C. A plain, nondescript door with no name on it. I knocked once. The door opened immediately. Damon was standing there in a fitted white tank top and loose gray joggers. His arms were folded. His eyes scanned me like he'd been waiting for this moment all day. I didn't think you'd actually come, he said. I raised the keycard. You gave me an invitation. He stepped aside. I walked in. It was a small room, modest bed, dim lighting, the faint scent of cedar and laundry detergent. No words. He closed the door and locked it behind me. I turned. So what now? He crossed the space between us in 2 strides and stopped just short of touching me. We pick up where we left off, he said. And this time there was no ding. No interruption. No space between us. His lips found mine, and everything exploded. He kissed like he owned the moment, one hand on my neck, the other gripping my waist. I melted into him, fingers clawing at his shirt, mouths crashing, breath stolen. It was rough, it was hungry. It was 2 men who'd been pretending too long. And I didn't want to pretend anymore. Not tonight. I don't know how long we sat in that small room, just breathing in the silence, the tension between us refusing to settle. Damon leaned against the far wall, arms crossed, watching me like he was trying to read between my thoughts. I stood near the tiny window, staring out at nothing. So, I finally said, trying to cut the silence, is this where you bring all the penthouse guys? He chuckled, low, rough, a little tired. You're the first. I looked over. Seriously? Dead serious. There was something in his voice, something real. It wasn't a line. It wasn't flirting. It was just truth. He moved across the room, slow and steady, and sat on the edge of the bed. This wasn't part of the plan. I didn't wake up this morning thinking I'd be locked in an elevator with a guy who'd look at me like I mattered. I swallowed. I didn't wake up thinking a guy like you would talk to me like I wasn't invisible, he added, eyes on the floor. I sat down beside him, not too close. Close enough. You're not invisible, Damon. He nodded slowly. I've been back in New York for 3 years. After the army, after everything, I just needed quiet. Stability. So I took this job. Figured, if I can't be the man I used to be, maybe I could at least be useful. I stayed quiet, giving him space to speak. He glanced at me. But tonight felt different. You made me feel like I still exist. Like I'm not just some guy in uniform watching people live lives I'll never have. That hit me hard. Deeper than I expected. Look, I said carefully, I don't know what this is or where it's going. But I'm not here because I feel sorry for you. I'm here because something about you feels right. Even if it makes no sense. His eyes searched mine, quietly intense. I'm not good at this. Talking. Trusting. Me neither, I said. But maybe we don't need to be good at it. Maybe we just need to try. For a long moment, neither of us said anything. But something had shifted, an understanding. No rush. No pressure. Just a fragile beginning. Then he stood and walked over to the door. You should probably head back before anyone notices, he said. Right, I replied, forcing myself up. At the doorway, he hesitated. Eli. I turned. He scratched the back of his neck, awkward again. I'd like to see you again. When I'm not working. I nodded. I'd like that too. He smiled. Not wide. Just enough. And somehow, that tiny smile stayed with me all the way back up to the penthouse. I barely slept that night. Not because of guilt, because of the unknown. Something in Damon's eyes before I left, that flicker of hesitation, had me turning things over in my mind on a loop. Was I really doing this? Getting close to someone who wore a name tag, clocked in and out, whose world was 100 floors below mine. And yet, when I thought of him, it wasn't his job I saw. It was the way he looked at me like I wasn't performing. Like I could just be. The next morning, I opened my phone to a single message from an unknown number. No text. Just a picture. Of me and Damon. In the stairwell. We weren't even touching, but my face said enough. His posture, the closeness, the privacy of it, it screamed intimacy. My stomach dropped. Who is this? I typed. No reply. Then, 1 minute later, another message came in. Careful who you let in. My hands went cold. I called Damon. No answer. I tried again. Still nothing. It was 8:47 a.m. I threw on a hoodie, barely remembered to grab my keys, and made it downstairs. The security desk was manned, but not by Damon. The replacement was a guy named Carl. Older. Grumpier. Hey, is Damon around? Carl didn't look up from his crossword. Called out. Said it was urgent. I nodded slowly, heart picking up speed. Damon doesn't seem like the call-in sick type. I walked away from the desk and ducked into the stairwell, where the picture had been taken, and scanned for cameras. I didn't see any, but that didn't mean there weren't any. Or that someone hadn't taken it personally. Who was watching us? And why now? By noon, I still hadn't heard from him. I paced my apartment, checked my phone every other minute, and finally gave in. I typed. I got a message. A photo. Someone saw us. Are you okay? I stared at the screen, waiting for the typing dots. Nothing. Then I remembered something he'd said in the elevator. I have to be careful. This job, they don't just fire you. They blacklist you. This wasn't just about some messy fling. This could ruin him. Suddenly my phone buzzed. But it wasn't Damon. It was another message from the unknown number. Keep playing with fire, and you'll both get burned. Now it wasn't just about protecting what we had. It was about protecting him. Because someone wasn't just watching. They were warning me. And I don't do well with threats. I had two choices, panic or figure this out. I chose the second. Mostly. After that last message, I turned off my phone for a full hour. Just sat on the couch with the windows open, sipping bad coffee and replaying every word Damon had said. Something about the way he carried himself. He wasn't just some security guy with secrets. He was hiding from something bigger. And now, whatever it was, we were both in it. When my phone buzzed back to life, there it was. One new message from Damon. I'm okay. Needed time to think. Meet me where we first got stuck. 6 p.m. Short. Careful. Measured. But beneath those words, I could feel it. He was scared. I made it to the 17th floor stairwell a few minutes early, heartbeat steady, palms slightly sweaty. Damon was already there, leaning against the wall, arms folded. No uniform this time, just jeans, a black hoodie, and that quiet storm in his eyes. I didn't know if you'd come, he said. I shrugged, stepping closer. You're kind of hard to ignore. He cracked a smile, but it didn't last. I'm sorry, he said. I never should have pulled you into this. I leaned against the wall next to him. You didn't. I stepped in. He glanced at me, and this time really looked at me. Why? There were a million smart, guarded ways I could have answered. Instead, I told the truth. Because you're the first person in a long time who didn't care about my view, my last name, or how many floors I live above the rest of the world. He blinked. Because when you looked at me in that elevator, I didn't feel expensive. I just felt seen. Damon looked away for a beat. Then quietly, there's a camera in the stairwell, hidden behind the smoke detector. Only management has access to that feed. That's how they got the photo. He nodded. They've been watching me ever since I questioned the way things are run here. There are rules, and then there's what they do. They like things quiet, controlled. No scandals. No surprises. And a guard hooking up with a penthouse resident? I said. Not part of the brochure. He gave a dry laugh. Not even close. Silence again, but this time it felt safe. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a flash drive. I copied the internal logs last week. Surveillance access, complaints, patterns. There's something off about this building, Eli. It's not just us. They're watching everyone. I stared at the tiny object in his hand, then at him. You're going to expose them. I want to, he said. But I can't do it alone. I don't have power. I don't have a platform. You do. He wasn't wrong. I had a name. A voice. Connections. Are you asking for help? I said. He hesitated. No. I'm asking you to walk away. But hoping you won't. I didn't answer. I just reached over and slipped the flash drive from his hand and into my own. I'm not walking away, I said. But if we do this. We, he repeated with the faintest smile. Yeah. We, I said firmly. If we do this, we do it smart. We stay 3 steps ahead. And when this is over, he looked at me, brow raised. Then what? I smiled. We ride that elevator back to the top. Together. It all came down to the elevator. Not just because it was where we met or where everything started, but because the elevator symbolized something bigger now, movement. Rising. Falling. Risk. We weren't just passengers anymore. We were in control of the ride. Damon and I didn't storm into the building demanding change. That's not how people like us survive in places like this. We strategized. We waited. We used my contacts in the media, quietly. Sent encrypted emails. Set up burner lines. Passed the flash drive off to a tech-savvy journalist who owed me a favor and still had a soul. Within 48 hours, a story leaked. The eyes above, illegal surveillance inside the Monarch. The article didn't name Damon, but the building's management knew. The floodgates opened. Former employees stepped forward. Residents got angry. Tenants threatened lawsuits. The board launched an internal investigation. It wasn't a full-on revolution, but it was a start. The night everything broke, Damon and I watched the news together in my apartment. On the same couch I'd once nervously sat alone. This time, he was beside me, head on my shoulder, hand in mine. They're going to come after me, he murmured. They already tried, I said, tightening my grip. But you've got people now. He turned to me, eyes full of something heavy and warm. You didn't have to do this, Eli. I gave a half smile. No, I didn't. Silence stretched for a beat, but not the awkward kind. The kind that fills the room with something deeper. I've never trusted anyone the way I trust you, he whispered. It's terrifying. I touched his face gently. Same. His eyes flicked to mine. I don't want to be your secret. Or your rebellion. Or your project. You're not, I said, voice low. You're the reason I started feeling again. Later that night, we stood in the elevator one more time. Just the two of us. It didn't get stuck this time. The ride was smooth, steady. When it reached the top floor, the bell dinged. Damon didn't move. Instead, he reached out and hit the emergency stop. I know how this sounds, he said, but I needed this place to slow down. Just for a second. I smiled. Somehow we keep ending up like this. Maybe that's the point, he said. And then he kissed me. Not desperate. Not rushed. Just real. We didn't need fireworks. Or champagne. Or some massive crowd to approve of us. All we needed was this. 2 men. 1 elevator. And a story that no one saw coming. A year later, Damon owns a private security firm, focused on integrity, transparency, and second chances. I moved out of the penthouse and into a brownstone we chose together. He still teases me every time we take an elevator. And I still feel that flutter in my chest, every single time it dings. Not because I'm falling, because I already did. And this time, I landed in love.